Hello, everybody, and welcome to another very special episode of the Blue Abroad Show. Today, we're doing an opposition preview, as I like to do most weeks, and you'll know this bloke very well. He's got a channel by the name of HawthornFanTV, and I speak of A-Rod. A-Rod, mate, welcome.
Terry, it's great to be with you. It's an honour, and let's have a chat about this game tomorrow night. And even though, despite our form, I still reckon we're a chance. But great to be with you.
Yeah, mate. No, it's. I think, well, from my experience anyway, I reckon HawthornFanTV was one of the first of its kind that I saw in Australia. Talk to me about it and the journey and how you started and why you started and yeah.
Well, it's a funny story. I was at the pub with a few mates before one of the NAB Cup games or whatever it was called a few years ago when we were playing Geelong down in Tassie, and I was at the pub with a few mates, and we won the game after the siren. I said, let me interview one of you, and I'll post it to my personal Facebook page, and we'll see what the interest is like. So I interviewed one of my mates. He was half cut, so there was quite a bit of language in the video. So we called it the pilot episode. So I thought, we posted it and it got a good reaction from, my friends watching it. So then I created the page, and since then it's, I think we're in a quite nice niche, and it's just grown and grown and grown. We get interviews after we win or lose. At games after a loss, it can be tough because people really don't want to talk after a loss. But, it's grown and grown, and no, I'm quite pleased where we are at the moment, and it's great to see that other people are getting involved in the scene as well. Yourself, I think there's one with St Kilda, but I have no background in professional background in interviewing or anything, so it's just there was nothing of the type as you mentioned in Australia. Obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan, so HawthornFanTV is probably the mecca of this fan channel. I thought we didn't have that here, in any of the sports, AFL, A-League, NRL. So I thought, what, I'll give it a go and see what we can do. And, I don't mean to brag, but I do think that I was the first to start it in the Australian sports scene.
Yeah, I thought you were. I'm an Arsenal fan as well. So, and very similar. I think, the inspiration is there, and,
Yep.
it's a really I think not only them, they're probably the premier channel, but I think, as a new industry, footy media and footy fan media, whether it's AFL or EPL, it's a real thing. And fans want to consume. Fans want to talk about their sport. Fans want to talk about their team when they win. Maybe not as much when they lose. Sometimes when they lose, they want to fix the problem. But yeah, I mean, obviously, giving them the platform to do that is it's good work.
And you look at HawthornFanTV, and they've come in for a lot of criticism in the last 3 or 4 years since, sadly, Arsenal have had a decline, and people think, that HawthornFanTV revel off when they lose. And, looking at it on the face of it, despite the criticism they've had in the previous years, just on the face of it, the concept is a great idea. Because, you have a look at all the AFL media, and they jump from week to week about, this team will win the flag this week, then they lose, oh no, they're off. The fans have never really, in the AFL, have never really had this option to have their say. So on the face of it, it's a great concept, despite the criticisms that can come its way. And before we started recording, I had my criticisms come my way at a certain period last year after an interview. And, I never had a call from the club about, step back, change the name or anything. But, you just got to ride the negativity and come out the other side. And that's what I think that we at HawthornFanTV have come out the other side.
Yeah, I'm very similar to you. So I did some fan cams after games last year when I got back, and I only did them after wins, and I kind of did it on purpose.
Yeah,
I just don't know if I'm ready for that type of criticism. I'm just trying to figure out, do I really want to be there after a loss? And I just, it's such a melting pot of emotions. And honestly, it's for the good and it's for the bad. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to capture that raw emotion.
Exactly.
Win or loss. And it's just something I've definitely thought about. But that was the idea, come back and get fan cams going. So I'm very keen to see what that journey is going to be like as well. But mate, we have a big game coming up.
We do.
We've got a big one. I want you to take me into the Hawthorn world, because obviously I live in the Carlton bubble. What is the story on your side, and what's the build-up like from you?
Well, the build-up for us is we want to win a game of football. Obviously, we've lost 4 in a row. We've been in the bubble in Sydney. The less said about Sydney, the better. I mean, we finally get away from the cow paddock that is Giants Stadium and the SCG, and we finally move to a proper sized football ground. And obviously, there's been a lot of comments saying that, Hawthorn can't deal with the small sized grounds. I agree with that. I'm intrigued to see how we go on this bigger sized ground. But our major issue, and it's been an issue for the last season and a half, is we can't score. We hit 100 twice last year, and they were the final two games against Gold Coast and West Coast. But besides those two games, we just cannot score. And you look at our forward line, you've got Bruce, who's a proven goal scorer, Gunston, who's a proven goal scorer, Puopolo, even though he's gone off, has kicked goals. Lewis was a highlight in the second half of last season, but, is out of form this season. O'Brien, almost O'Brien, as they call him, just showed glimpses last year, as he's always done, but we just cannot score. How we fix that? That's our big question. If we can figure out how we're going to score, it could change, but yeah, there's a lot more issues than that. The midfield struggled. Scully's in just awful form, and there's calls for him to be dropped. Whether he's dropped for tomorrow night, we'll wait for the team. But
yeah, right.
There's when I have my post game shows immediately afterwards. Like, I'm straight on 15 minutes after the game's over. The main talking points have been the forward line, just the mess it's in, and the form of the midfield and Scully. Because you look at our midfield on paper, Warple, Mitchell, O'Meara, Shields, Henderson, who finished second in the best and fairest last year, Scully, who is a proven player, just haven't clicked. They've had moments, like in the win against Richmond, but overall, it's just the midfield just has not clicked, and that connection between the midfield and the forward line just hasn't been there, especially the last 4 weeks, but a lot of the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously me watching as an external fan, but I've watched most, if not all, of the Hawthorn games. So I've obviously noticed Warple. He's just obviously wins the best and fairest last year, and correct me if I'm wrong. So I felt like when I was watching him last year, he was really playing that Tom Mitchell role.
Yeah.
Trying to get him the ball, trying to extract. And then it's, Mitchell's back. Is there a bit of, they don't know who's got to go when about the two of them?
I do think that Warple, since the return of Tom Mitchell, I do think Warple is a little bit lost, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I don't know where he best suits. Terry Wallace came out in the week and said, last week said he doesn't know if Mitchell and Warple can play in the same team. That's a possibility, but I just feel that, we saw what Warple could do last year, how, dominant he was in the midfield, won our best and fairest, as you said. But I just do feel that he is lost in the whole scheme of things. I've thrown up the idea of, why not chuck him up forward and see what he can do? He pinch hit up forward in his first season. Obviously, he kicked the winning goal against Essendon in one of his early games. Why not break it up, try something new, chuck Warple down forward for a period of time and see what he can do up there, and have Mitchell and Mitchell and O'Meara back as our two main midfielders. But I do agree, Warple has definitely been lost in the shuffle since the return of Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I go into this game, and I said it in my preview the other day. Like, I'm confident that we are playing better football over the last few weeks.
Yep.
Our problem has been probably that we probably can be susceptible to some mistakes.
Yep.
All of a sudden, teams are trying to slow us down from scoring, which I don't remember the last time that was the case. So we've got a good scoring machine going, but I can't help but look at you guys, and on any given week, you've got too much talent from an outsider looking in. I mean, you've got genuine A-graders. I mean, I don't know if you classify Chad Wingard as a forward or a mid, but he's probably starting forward for the most part this year, and then pushing up from what I've seen. He's super talented. You got Sicily, then you got these mids who are bona fide players. So I don't, even though I know that we, the record will say that we're playing a little bit better than what you guys are over the last few weeks, I can't help but still be nervous because, we on our side, well, for me anyway, we're so close to how bad we've been for, the last 5, 6, 7 years. So it's a very intriguing matchup.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of the rare teams to have scored 100 points this season. I mean, we came close one week, but, we haven't hit it yet. But you're one of the rare teams who has hit 100 when you beat the Dogs a few weeks back. But you mentioned you can't, we've lost 4 in a row. We're due for a win.
Yeah.
you know, and as you say, we could hit the switch at any moment, you know. And with your team, you know, your team's still growing, you know, from week to week, and there's always that possibility with the Blues that you might have an off week out of nowhere. You know, you won last week against North Melbourne, which is great because it's always great to see North Melbourne lose. I don't like North Melbourne. And then the week before, you lost to Port Adelaide after a siren due to the Robbie Gray goal. So, you know, take away that, you've been, you know, performing well for a couple of, and put in the Bulldogs, you've been performing well for about a month or so, and we've been deplorable. But it's kind of the game where you can get that feeling where we could flick the switch and turn it on, and you could possibly have one of your, you know, after the recent, you know, performances you've had, you might have a down week and we might just swoop in and take the win. It's I think a lot of the tipsters are leaning towards Carlton, and on recent form, rightly so. But we're back on a, you know, a big oval where I think we do play our best football on the bigger ovals. So I think I think it'll be a lot closer than people think. If we don't get off to a slow start, then we will be right in the battle. If we get off to a slow start, if you're 4-1 up at quarter time, I can't see us coming back because we just cannot claw back deficits. You look at our recent first quarters. Sydney, we started well in the first quarter and we were right up to it, right up until the end. Melbourne, slow start. Never looked after quarter time. Collingwood, slow start. Never looked at after that. GWS, slow start at quarter time. Never looked at after that. So if we're at a slow start in the first quarter and you'll say 4-1 up, then if you're a Carlton fan, you could be in for a good evening because we just... I've always said this, even during our successful years, you can tell in the first 10, 15 minutes if we're on or not.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I always look at. If we're on, then we're a chance, but if we're not, then it's going to be a long game.
Yep. It's an interesting week. It's an interesting situation with the Hawks because obviously you guys are. Well, I probably should ask you, what has the last 15 years been like? Like, what's that been like for you?
Well, I've been a supporter since '94, so when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
So I had to wait 14 years for a premiership, and I actually asked this on our post-game show last weekend. I said, considering the success we've had in the last 12, 15 years, would you take a couple of down years, you know, say 9th to 13th in that bracket, considering the success we've seen? A few said no, which is fair enough, and a few said yes, you know, because, I mean, who in there, you know, I'm 31, turning 32 in October. I've seen 4 premierships before I was 30. I don't think you know, a lot of people can say that they've seen, you know, that success. And you include 11, you know, we missed out on a grand final by, you know, what, a loop ball hack out of a pack. And, you know, we missed out on a prelim in 16 via the Isaac Smith. So we could have easily had, you know, we played in 4 grand finals. We could have played in 6 consecutive. So, you know, you can't take for granted what we've seen over this past, you know, 15 years. But, you know, obviously we've lost the 4, but, you know, I think the media have waited for this moment for a long time. They have waited for many years for us to hit this moment where we look like we're going to head down, and they have jumped on us like a pack of sharks. They've been waiting, they've found their moment, and they've struck.
Yeah, I mean, I have to obviously give respect, and I do give respect, and you know, there's obviously been a period there where I think we beat you in 2017, and then we just couldn't beat you. And you know, the Clarko, I didn't know that Clarko hit one of our players back in the 80s and broke his jaw. I'm only starting to learn about it now. There's that. There's the Favola stranded on 99 night. And there's just something about this game. And while I am very mindful of the fact that, hey, the Hawks could win this game if they just, you know, start well, as you said, and do all these things, can't help but feel like, you know, because we're humming along, if we can just string together one more good week and really turn the tide, I guess I can smell blood, but that doesn't mean we're going to come and put you away. And I don't know, there's jealousy because you guys have been the type of side that we all talk about wanting to be and being, and really it comes from our ancestors who have passed those stories down to us.
Yeah.
I'm 29, so similar to you, age profile, but I've experienced the polar opposite. So I think more than what I know, that we will be able to just finally get on top of you guys for a couple of years in a row.
Well, you look at that game last year down in Tassie when you were 6 or 7 goals up at halftime, and
it still hurts, mate.
look to be cruising. My mum and my sister went down for that game down in Tassie. But you look at that. I mean, you were at halftime and you were flying and I could not see a way back. Just the way. I mean, you were cutting us open like a knife through butter, just with ease. And then whether it's that because of that, that Carlton frame of mind that it has been in recent years, that you didn't know how to win, and then you just you just collapsed. I mean, Mackay took that mark just as the siren
goes.
And you got to go back to that one back in. You mentioned Favola and the 99 goals. The one back when he and Roughhead had the goal duel at the MCG when Fev hit the post when he thought he kicked it. So there have been some massive battles over the years, but I always go back to that one last year where you were cruising at halftime and just forgot how to win on that thing.
We shut the bed.
Yeah. And, we overran you. But, if you come and play that type of style that you did in that first half last year and how you've been playing the last few weeks, you'll be in for a very good night. But Carlton and Hawthorn, I mean, my dad's a Carlton fan.
Right.
So he knows all about, the success over here. My dad's, how old? He's 70 this year. So he's seen all of Carlton's success. Failed terribly to get me as a Carlton fan, might I add. The scarf and the Guernseys never worked. But, he's seen all the success, and he tells me, all the great battles that Carlton and Hawthorn have had over the years.
Yeah. No, it's just one of those things. Respect but jealous. I think that's where I sit. Awesome, mate. Well, before I let you go, I guess we should get a bit of a tip going. How do you see the game playing out? And give us your tip.
Well, as I just said, the slow start. If we're off to a slow start, I think that you'll cruise to a nice win. I don't think it'll be any more than 5 goals either way. But if we're off to a slow start, I think you'll win. But if we get off to a good start, I'm going to tip us just as I feel we're back on a proper foot-sized football ground. I think Bruce will come back in. I think Impey will come back in.
Okay.
And I think CJ will come back in. He's been elevated off the Category B rookie list because of Henderson's long-term injury. So I think he might come in, and he provides a bit of unpredictability, a bit of X factor off the half-back line, as will Impey, and Bruce just provides that presence up forward. So they're going to be especially 2 good ins in Impey and Bruce, and hopefully CJ gets a run. I'm going to tip us by less than 2 goals, but not with any confidence.
Yeah. No, I think you will come out the right way. I don't see it being an easy game. I don't think we are a team that knows how to just put a side away just yet consistently. I think we'll win by 15 points. But I do think it's going to be a good game. I'm with you. I can't see this. You guys have just been smashed all week, and even probably the week before. There has to be some sort of a response, I think, and I think we'll see that in Friday night football. So I think we'll have a good one.
And a 5:40 time slot on Friday. What do you make of the 5:40 time slot? It's a bit odd, isn't it?
It is a bit odd. It's a bit of a spew if you're in Perth. I think it's 3:40.
Yes. Yeah, so, I think they're 2 hours behind now.
Yeah, I think you just take the day off and or work from home and then just leave a little early.
Do we know, is there a large Carlton fan base over in Perth? I think Hawthorn have quite a big fan base over in Perth that I know of. Is Carlton's fan base over there?
I can tell you now, it is massive.
Ooh, okay.
It is massive. I think they sold out 7,500 tickets yesterday or the day before.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, expect there to be a navy blue sea.
I'm nervous, but I look forward to it. It's good to have crowds. I mean, obviously, we can't get any crowds here for pretty much the whole season, and who knows what happens next season. But it is good to see people back at the football. And hopefully tomorrow night there's a sea of blue for you fellas and a sea of brown and gold for us over here at Hawthorn, and they can have a say in the game.
Love it, mate. Well, no, I look forward to it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and
pleasure.
All the best with the channel.
Likewise to you. It's a pleasure being on, and good luck for the season ahead for Carlton, and especially you here on Blue Abroad.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Thank you.